Eltingville, or the Eltingville Club, is a comic series by Evan Dorkin. It was published by Dark Horse Presents. The series revolves around 4 teenagers: Josh, Pete, Jerry, and Bill. Dorkin describes the characters as 4 older teenagers who are fans, and they're possibly some of the worst fans who have ever lived. They all take interest in different parts of geek culture. The first comic strip dates back to 1994 and was only planned for a one-off. But because fans loved the story and characters, Dorkin decided to continue Stories of Eltingville. The second story was titled Bring Me the Head of Boba Fett, and it won the Eisner Award for Best Story in 1996. This story really put Evan and Eltingville on the map. Eltingville was well received by fans and won 2 more Eisner Awards within the next few years. Now, before doing comic books, Evan Dorkin wanted to pursue a career in animation. However, after applying to the School of Visual Arts for animation, he wasn't accepted, even though he went on to the New York University Tisch School of Arts and had great success with his stories and comics. Dorkin must have held on to his passion for animation, because in 2001, he created a full 22.5-minute pilot episode titled Welcome to Eltingville. Produced by Cartoon Network Studios, this episode was an adaptation of the award-winning story Bring Me the Head of Boba Fett. Time for the full pilot breakdown and analysis. Let's get into it. We start off in a medieval forest, with our 4 main characters dressed like Vikings, walking and having an argument, when they're stopped by a skeleton lord. They order their loyal minions to attack, but they are quickly taken out by the skeleton lord. So now, the crew decide to try to take him down themselves. Soon after this failed attempt, we get transported back to reality and see that the crew were playing a game similar to Dungeons and Dragons. They begin to argue over the game. Then Bill's mom yells to the basement asking what's going on and telling them to shut up or leave. Bill and Josh then get into a fight. After this, we get the Welcome to Eltingville intro, which is masterfully done in my opinion. Now back in the basement, the guys are holding a meeting. They each present something different at the table. Jerry has a box of letters they wrote under fake names in order to get a Captain Zulu show by Paramount. Pete has built a fitter using a resin kit. And last but not least, Josh has a VHS tape that he thinks has footage of topless actresses. Leader of the comic club, Bill, doesn't have much to add, saying his last attempt to make contact with Gene Roddenberry's spirit was a failure. The boys pop in the VHS tape, ready to see something explicit. At first, the tape won't play, but after a few seconds of static, the Hair Bear Bunch begins to play on the TV. Bill calls this out. Meanwhile, Pete and Jerry find this hilarious and begin laughing. Josh is infuriated and puts his hands around their throats. The 4 get into an all-out brawl, pushing and punching each other across the room. Eventually, they knock over the TV and their table. It's the last straw for Bill's mom. She yells, "Get out!" Josh quickly tries to make up with his friends, but they push him down. He screams, "You know what this means, right?" This means the end of the Eltingville Club before he begins to eat Doritos out of the garbage he fell on. We transition to Bill wearing a Star Trek suit in a spaceship surrounded by women. He seems to be their leader, and the girls do anything he asks. This dream sequence ends as a nightmare when Bill realizes the planet he is on is a pimple on Josh's face. Bill wakes up to his major violent superhero alarm clock. Later that day, while in line at the movies, Bill tells Pete that, for the sake of the club, and to make sure he gets his Doctor Who DVD back, he should patch things up with Josh. The group then plans to pay for one movie, but keep sneaking to different rooms to watch them all. This doesn't work, and they get thrown out by security. Bill gives the group an enthusiastic speech, ending it by saying, "Let's get out of here and make the most of the day in the mighty Eltingville manor." The guys then go to the toy store, play video games, and play with toys at a burger joint. I really like this sequence. They end up at their local comic book shop, where a kid walks out with some cards he just bought. He sees the guys and begins to run over to show them his new stuff. Bill says, "Why can't somebody just put that geek out of our misery?" And they kind of do. They then start picking through his cards to see which ones they don't have. The dialogue in this scene is very clever, with Josh saying, "I tell you, we can't catch a break." The boys enter the shop, and two kids are having a Pokemon debate. The guys start looking at comics, and a shopkeep walks up, asking if they have seen the latest Spawn comics. After this interaction, Josh is dumbfounded as he stares in the distance. Bill notices and is confused until he sees it as well. A never-opened, mint-on-card Boba Fett action figure. The owner tells them he just got it today. The two are drooling over the figure and get in a competition asking how much he wants for it. I really enjoy the Star Wars references used in this scene. The shop owner tells them $300. Josh challenges Bill to a trivia off for the figure. The two seem to know every answer to each other's questions, and the questions are great. Everything from Digimon Digivolutions to which film did Jason first wear a hockey mask. This scene is gold. After too many questions to count, Josh finally slips up and says a wrong answer. Josh says everyone is against him, and this isn't over. He then asks the shop owner if he holds items for customers, and asks Bill if he has $300 on him. The answer to both questions is no, so Josh says he's going home to get the money for his Boba Fett before rushing out the door. Bill runs after him, and they are now in a race to get home. Josh grabs his mom's pocketbook, and Bill finds his mom's checkbook. They both burst through the door of the comic book shop at the same time. The shop owner tells Bill that he doesn't take checks. Josh thinks he's finally won until the owner tells him he doesn't accept credit cards either. Josh grabs the figure, and him and Bill begin tug-of-war as they pull the figure in different directions. They end up breaking off Boba's head. Everyone is shocked. They try to pin the figure on each other, saying, "I can't believe you broke your Boba Fett." The shop owner interrupts, saying they both have to pay for it. Now, outside of the shop, Josh is begging for the head of the toy. Bill tells him, "Say goodbye, Josh." You'll never lay your little sandwormy hands on it. Josh is crying, and the little kid from earlier says, "Oh my God, is this the end of the Eltingville Club?" I remember watching this episode online sometime around 2012 and loving the Boba Fett action figure scene. After watching it over a decade later, this pilot still stands out as one of the best shows that was never made into a full series. It has everything you need for a successful show: great writing, lovable characters, and fantastic animation. I could definitely see Welcome to Eltingville coming on after Mission Hill or Aqua Teen Hunger Force back in 2002 on Adult Swim. The consensus for this show is that Adult Swim should have picked it up, as it would have fit right in with the block's lineup at the time. While researching for this video, I went to Evan Dorkin's social media account, where I found he has recently answered some fan questions about the pilot. A fan asks if he wrote episodes of Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Dorkin replied, saying him and Sarah Dyer wrote 13 episodes of Space Ghost, and that's how he got the opportunity to make the Eltingville pilot. He adds some interesting information to the post, saying that originally, Adult Swim were interested in Milk and Cheese, a comic book series that Dorkin made in the 90s. Evan continues, saying he didn't want to sell the rights to Milk and Cheese. He knew that he was retiring Eltingville, so he was okay selling them, and negotiated print rights to finish his comic. One fan asked whose idea it was to put ECW chants in the pilot. Dorkin confirms this was his idea, also that he was part of the chanting, and if the show was picked up, there would be more wrestling stuff throughout the series. Another Eltingville fan made a post to Dorkin praising the pilot, saying it's one of the best 22 minutes of television they've ever seen. Evan replied, saying everyone worked really hard on the pilot, adding that it was a big budget for a Sunday late night slot, and it didn't work for whatever reasons, Mike Lazo, etc. Dorkin ends the post saying he's grateful they gave them a chance to make the show as they saw it. I wonder if Evan wrote any more episodes for Welcome to Eltingville, and exactly how the meeting went when the network ultimately decided to not pick up the show. We still don't have a definite answer of why Welcome to Eltingville was passed on, but I think I may have pieced it together myself. When I interviewed Bill Oakley for my Mission Hill video, he had this to say about Adult Swim. When it started to get more popularity through Adult Swim, did you all think of like maybe trying to pitch a season 2?
We never pitched it to Adult Swim because Adult Swim doesn't have any money. That's the thing. Like, the thing about Adult Swim is their shows are very, very cheap for the most part, or at least they were back then. And Mission Hill was like a primetime show where it was expensive. Like, it didn't have a Simpsons budget, but it had a King of the Hill budget. And so, like, it just wasn't in the cards to do another season for them.
Hence why they would air shows that were already created by other networks, like Baby Blues, The Oblongs, and Mission Hill. To produce an animated series, it costs a ton of money. And my thought is that even though Adult Swim loved the pilot, they weren't ready for the commitment to make an entire season. In my opinion, this was a major misstep, because Welcome to Eltingville had all of the elements to be an instant classic on Adult Swim. Now, we will never know. And that is why Welcome to Eltingville should have been a regular series on Adult Swim. Hey, Evan Dorkin, if you ever watch this video, it would be awesome if you let us know in the comment section what your plans were for the show if it did get picked up, or if you would ever make a series about milk and cheese. I hope everyone enjoyed today's video. Let me know which other failed pilot episode I should cover next. If you haven't already, tap that subscribe button. And until next time, stay up late productions.